This is everything that was sent us through an email, right? Yeah, she sent it. That's what he told me
All
last.
right. Thank you, Frank. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our board meeting on tonight, Monday, November the 18th. We are going to get this meeting started at 6 o'clock p.m. Roll call, please. Madam Secretary.
VP Bowman,
Present.
Trustee Kraft.
Here.
I'm present.
He voted yes.
Trustee Garrett,
Yes, present.
Trustee Gross,
Present.
President Hannah,
Present.
and Treasurer Terry.
Present.
That passes 7. We have a quorum.
Thank you. If we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need to make an amendment to our agenda. Under consent agenda, item A, suspensions and expulsion report, I need to remove that from the agenda, as well as add item D under interim superintendent's report. Item D will be listening session and curriculum and instruction review. Can I get a motion for that amendment?
One second, you said listening session.
Listener session and curriculum and instruction review. And approval for the motion for that amendment?
Support.
It was moved by trustee Gross, supported by VP Bowman, for the amendment of the agenda to remove item A under consent agenda and add item D under interim superintendent report. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Trustee Kraft?
Yes.
I'm voting yes. Trustee Garrett?
Yes.
Trustee Gross?
Yes.
President Hannah?
Yes.
Treasurer Terry?
Yes.
And VP Bowman?
Yes.
That passes 7-0.
Thank you. If I can now get approval of the amended agenda, please.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by VP Bowman, supported by Treasurer Terry, for the approval of the amended agenda. Any questions? Roll call.
I'm voting yes. Trustee Garrett?
Yes.
Trustee Gross?
Yes.
President Hannah?
Yes.
Treasurer Terry?
Yes.
VP Bowman?
Yes.
Trustee Kraft?
Yes.
That passes 7-0.
Thank you. Moving down the agenda, can I get approval of the consent agenda?
So move.
Support.
It's been moved by trustee Gross and supported by VP Bowman for the approval of the consent agenda. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Trustee Garrett?
Yes.
Trustee Gross?
Yes.
President Hannah?
Yes.
Treasurer Terry?
Yes.
VP Bowman?
Yes.
Trustee Kraft?
Yes.
And I'm voting yes. That passes 7-0.
Thank you. Continuing on the agenda, information from our superintendent and administration. Dr. Leverett, the meeting is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Hannah. Good evening, trustees. At this time, we will turn it over to Pete, and we're going to have a presentation from Yo-Yo. Pete.
I knew you was gonna do that. I knew you was gonna do that.
So we have Jennifer Watkins from Yo-Yo to give our audit presentation.
Thank you guys for having me tonight. In front of you, I already laid out your hard copy, so you have the actual audit report, which is your largest binder, and you have a single audit, which is your smaller report. That's over your federal dollars. Also, in your larger copy, there is a governance letter, which is the letter to the board. But tonight, we're just gonna go over a PowerPoint that is just a summary of basically everything that you already have in your larger reports, but just not so many papers. Gets pretty large. Those audits are very long and detailed. Again, my name is Jennifer Watkins. I am the partner on the job from Yo and Yo. We have a huge team that comes out and works with you guys, but I am the partner. First slide I want to go over tonight with your audit is over responsibilities. This slide actually comes straight, kind of snippets from the audit report. And your audit report is the whole point of having the audit is to get that audit report on there. The first is the responsibility of the school district, really looking at the day-to-day operations. They're responsible for the internal controls, responsible for the monitoring of those controls, the review, the reconciliations, actually getting the numbers that you see on your statements in there. And then the auditor is supposed to be an independent look to look at those numbers, evaluate the risk, and be able to tell you at the end of the day, are your financial statements free from any material misstatements. The next slide is just a snippet of what we do from an audit standpoint. It's not everything, and I won't read them all to you, but the beginning of it starts with understanding internal controls all the way down to the actual submission of the audit. And we spend a lot of time on looking at the internal control process to see how things are getting into the system. Is the process working correctly? We also do something unpredictable every year, and this year a lot of your team was new, so a lot of it was unpredictable anyways. But, you know, after working in schools for a while, you kind of know what we're gonna ask. So we always change something up every year. Also, for schools in general, you guys are under a significant amount of testing and just requirements overall. You have your federal grant requirements, you have state requirements. I actually sit on the 1022 committee at the state and the audit manual committee at the state. So we're writing those compliance requirements, and they're giving you a whole nother level of compliance requirements and reporting requirements that you need to meet. We're testing all of those, as well as just overall government auditing standards as well. So schools kind of have, besides a regular audit, much more levels of compliance testing and auditing that we have to do. The next slide is your overall audit results, kind of the overall picture of the audit. You received an unmodified opinion, which is what you want. That's a clean opinion, the highest level of assurance that we can give. And in the end, that means that your financial statements are free from any material misstatement. The next few slides are snippets of your balance sheet, and these are of your governmental funds. So the typical funds that you're used to looking at on a budgeting basis. First, we have general fund as a major fund, and then the other major funds this year are the 2020 and 2023 building and site funds. Also as a major fund is sinking fund, and then all other funds combined are in that non-major column. So those are things like the food service fund, student activities, and like debt funds. Overall, you had total assets of $69.7 million. 41.6 of those were in the general fund. And you can see a significant amount of those was in cash and investments. Also in what we call accounts receivable or due from governmental units, which is basically amounts waiting for either state aid for July and August or grants that you're waiting on to be paid. So this is a snippet, I would say a snapshot in time of June 30th. A lot of things get accrued back that aren't typically accrued back. So you cut off the year correctly as of June 30th. Under that, you have liabilities, total for the district for governmental funds, $28.8 million. And here, again, you have, it's accrued back. So included in there is salaries for July and August, so teacher summer pay, their benefits, things like that. Unearned revenue is one of the larger items. Those are for two main things actually are included in there. So it's grants that have not been earned yet. One would be at risk. That's about $3 million of that, and the other portion is that clean bus program, and that kind of threw a wrench in the system because that was approved to you, but the buses were not received as of year end, so that's about $9 million of that number. The next slide includes your deferred inflows and then also your fund balances for the end of the year. Deferred inflows had a total of $4.9 million, all in the general fund. Now there's a rule for schools that if you do not receive revenue within 60 days of year end, it's a deferred inflow. So that's your grants received number. And then leases was a new item. A few years ago, we implemented that new standard for leases. Under that, you have fund balances. Total fund balance for the total of all governmental funds, $35.9 million as of the end of the year. General fund is 16.7 of that. All other funds, I would note, besides the general fund, are either restricted or committed in some fashion. So all your capital project funds are restricted for capital projects. Sinking fund restricted as well. Food service restricted. debt also, and then the only other is the student activities, which is all committed. So the only place you have unassigned or unrestricted monies is general fund. Oh, and I messed it up. Knew it. No, I got it back. The next slide is your statement of revenues and expenditures, and this is straight out of your audit, but it's a condensed version, so without all the detail. You have revenues, expenditures, and total change in fund balance. And you have each of the major funds, and then including the total non-major funds, and then total for all governmental. Overall, just to point out, your total change in fund balance, 3 lines up from the bottom for the district, is a negative 22.6 million. So a decrease overall in fund balance. And if you see, a lot of that does come up with the 2020 and 2023 building and site funds, which you would expect as you're spending those down. That was about $22 million of spend down. And the general fund, which I'll note again on a different page, but that was a decrease of 1.3 million in your general fund balance. So overall, ending fund balance went from 58.5 million, this is for the district in total for all funds, to 35.9, and for the general fund from 18.0 million to 16.7. And I should have said, but if you have questions as I'm going through this, feel free to stop me. Oh, yep. Go ahead. Yes. Grab my water.
I do have a question.
Yep.
As it pertains to the interest on the monies that are within the accounts, how does that affect us? Is it negatively or positively? Because if you have a considerable amount of monies in an account, say for hypothetically $10 million, but it's long-term, then those monies are, I'm trying to look at her and talk. Okay, yes, so with those monies being in the account, long-term gains interest, correct?
So if it's interest, it depends on the account. So if it's interest earned, if it's for bond interest, you can't earn too much interest, or you have to record what they call an arbitrage liability, money that you have to pay back to the IRS.
So I was gonna ask that, that's my question.
Yes, so, and that's a calculation, and we do that and look at that as well. If it's interest that you're earning on regular dollars,
Like
like
general fund
general
dollars.
fund, then that interest, as you would record it by the year, so you could record it, you would record it annually, and it'd be in local sources revenue.
And has if that information or those numbers been put into your
Oh, yeah,
audit?
absolutely, yep,
Okay, and so that's a benefit to us with these large amount of monies within an account that gains us interest
Oh, yeah.
throughout the year instead of, and I'm saying that because if we look at continuous spending and draw from those accounts when we don't necessarily need to do at that time, the longer we have that money in the account, the more interest we can raise from those accounts. And I do believe, we talked about this, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Holcomb, we talked about with the grant monies from the busing, the $9 million assisted us in gaining in money from interest, correct? Okay, I just need the community to hear that, so that's a good thing. Okay, thank you. I just wondered if it was incorporated in this
Yep.
audit. Thank you. Sorry, Frank, I didn't know about the mic. I'm loud enough.
The next slide goes over your budget to actual results. And we'll talk about budget again at the end, but this shows kind of an overall, again, a very summarized version of your budget to actual. You have original budget of anticipating an increase of $239,000, final budget of an anticipated increase of $55,000, and your actual ended was a decrease of $1.3 million. And we'll kind of talk about it in a couple slides, but you can see a lot of it had to do with grants. There was some significant one-time things that happened during the year. One was the Clean Bus Grant of $9 million, and grants are kind of a dollar in, dollar out. Well, actually $1 out, then $1 in. You have to spend it first to get it. So overall, the net difference between your budget to actual, you can see you had a variance at the top of about 5% under and about 4% under for expenditures. Most of that, the net effect of that was due to the grants. couple of pie charts just to kind of show overall, and this is just for general fund. So this is your revenue, and this shows definitely a majority of your revenue, over 50%, but normally it's much higher than that, is between local and state dollars. So that's your direct monies from your student enrollment. This year, you did have the forgiveness of debt from the state of about 18 million. So that kind of skewed the numbers related to revenue, which is obviously a one-time item. And that, because of how accounting rules are, and us accountants, we're always getting rules, it has to be shown as gross instead of net. It really was a net transaction. I don't think the money ever even came to the district. It was handled, to pay off the debt outside, but us accountants always have rules, and we have to show it as gross. So it showed as revenue on your statements. The next slide is a PowerPoint pie chart of your expenditures, and this is showing overall by by object, your expenditures just for general fund. And you see salaries here and employee benefits. Obviously, the light blue and the white take up the majority of the graph, which you would expect as you're in the business of people, especially if you add in the purchase services, which is also the people there. But overall, salaries and benefits is about 70% of your overall general fund budget. The next slide shows overall fund balance as a percent of current operating expenditures. And this shows from 19, having the deficit of 2019-20 of having the deficit of 1.9 million through 2024. And right now, your number is 14.4% of current operating expenditures. And it's also a little bit skewed because of that debt forgiveness. But overall, probably that number would have been a little bit higher. Well, it would have been a little bit higher without that debt forgiveness, but you're still right around 15%. Overall, internal control and compliance findings, we did have 2 findings this year. One was a material item for audit adjustments and overall reconciliations. And P and I talked about it, but really, I say it's a goal and an awesome thing that you guys got your audit done and finalized on time. You had a lot of transition in your business office and open vacancies during the year, which put it behind quite a bit. So I know they're working on filling those positions to correct that for future years. But everything got completed on time, which is quite a bit. I know it's a problem in the state of Michigan right now with business managers maybe retiring or a lot of open positions looking for qualified staffing. And I know a lot of audits this year were late, so that's a good thing. And I know your business office is working to correct that. We also had one material weakness, material non-compliance on budget. And as you notice on the budget page, the net difference really didn't affect your overall fund balance. The fund balance was, I think, a 1% to your overall financial budget, like your revenue budget difference. But in between lines, because of those grants and those one-time items, like the $18 million debt payoff, the $9 million clean bus grant, and these oddities, there were some individual line items that had significant differences. Also, those were both for financial statements and overall, but over your federal awards, we did audit for single audit 21st Century. We also audited ESSER, or we call it Education Stabilization Funds. We had no issues there. For your single audit, everything was clean with no findings, no fraud or abuse noted, no non-compliance, no significant deficiencies overall for your single audit dollars. And then just a minor thing that we noted as well, this is what we call a management comment, or just something as we call a other comment for management's consideration, is the technical term, is your decentralized cash bank recs. This deals with your student activity accounts. Some of those smaller accounts, but some of them do deal with a lot of transactions going in and out. we noted that they weren't being signed. We like everything signed and dated by a reviewer or preparer, and just making sure that that process is handled appropriately. And I know, again, we've talked to Pete and the team about that, and I think having missing positions, during the year affected that, but hopefully it's planned to be corrected in the next year as well. And that is all I had for the audit. As I said, overall, we got it done on time, and I think that was a success. And I know I've been working with Pete to fill in some of those items as well.
Thank you, Trustee Rose.
My favorite question at the end, I make a comment. We did well.
Yes.
No findings, right?
You had 2 findings, but they're
But-
being corrected,
That
and
are
you
being
had an
corrected.
unmodified report.
Right, because, well, we're not going to talk about when people put out rumors about the district and money. As it pertains to this audit, where are we in our bond rating? Our district bond rating, are we at a AA, triple B, triple A?
Yeah, that doesn't change from where we've been before, because that was done when we issued the bonds in 2020.
So we were at
I
a
believe AA, I'll check
double A.
on that.
Triple A is the best. No, I always ask that because that's a good thing to have a solid bond rating. If the decision is to go after another bond, and they can trust the fact that our audits have been excellent over at least the last 4, 5, 6 years, for certain.
Yeah.
And that bond rating helps us. We go out for that. So, all right, thank you. And as long as we're aware of what the findings are and they're being corrected.
Right, yeah.
I did read that, so thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Welcome. Any other questions, comments? Thank you. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your time.
All right, Dr. Leverett.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to call Denise. We've been in several conversations with her. We reviewed the materials as it relates to the in-depth vaping program through the American Lung Association, and it's an opportunity for us to provide education and preventative services to our students. These are 50-minute sessions. What I'm really impressed about is, of course, her passion and willingness to come into our district and provide a service of something that is definitely a need. So at this time, I will turn it over to you, Denise.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Denise Harris. I am the Prevention Coordinator for Pontiac Prevention. I have with me today Justin. He is the Prevention Coordinator, Lead Specialist, and Designated Youth Tobacco Representative. We wanted to introduce to the board a program called In-Depth. In-Depth stands for Intervention for Nicotine Dependence, Education, Prevention Tobacco, and Health Program. This program is not geared towards punishment, but is geared towards education. Research shows from the American Lung Association that after taking this course, 60% of students are willing to stop vaping after completing this program. As Dr. Leverett mentioned, it comes in 4 sessions, and they're all different categories of what they need to learn. And then the program is laid out like pretty much there's nothing you would have to do. There's a sample letter to the policy, there's a sample letter to the students, there's a sample letter to staff, there's a sign-in sheet, there's a facilitator program. I have taken the program. I am a facilitator. Any adult can take the program. It takes about an hour, hour and a half. You can kind of switch it to how your school's need is. If you decide you want one-on-one programming, you decide you want to do it as a group, how children or youth are getting caught. And then in return, after all of this implementation, we can be considered a vape-free school zone. And that does require $350 for a licensing for that. But again, everything is spelled all the way out. This binder is here, it's for you guys. We did make you a little bit of a packet with just some information, because I don't think that the board is even aware of the Alliance and all the other offices, services that we do offer. So there is a little bit of information in there as well. I could go on and on about how easy this program is to be implemented, but I'm more here to answer any questions you may have. Yes.
Yes, we'll start with trustee Gross.
I'm just curious, what is the age range that you have seen your concerns as it pertains to vaping? What is the youngest?
We have seen go ahead. This is why I got him here.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Good evening, board. Nice
Good
to
evening.
see so many familiar faces.
Yes, sir, good
friendly
seeing
faces.
you, good seeing you.
Good to see you.
So,
You was
to-
still a young fella.
I'm trying to do good things to save the world like everybody else. But to answer your question, so the youngest that we've seen is 7-year-olds who are vaping.
So that's
7-year-olds.
Second grade.
Second grade, 7-year-olds who are vaping and then have to go through a restorative program because their brains and their bodies are not yet fully developed.
Now, my next question, and then I'll yield to the other board members. There's a variety of type of things that these kids are smoking through these vapes, am I correct? Tobacco,
Correct.
marijuana, they do flavored tobaccos and things
Absolutely,
like that to
correct.
attract the children, am I right?
Correct.
So, and there are various devices. I've actually gone through a training with the Oakland County Sheriff Department to detect what kids are using to hide their vapes. And oh my gosh, that's something I think that I'm interested in, and I hope that this board is, that we can have some sort of training to detect what kids are using to vapes. I know that's something that they did in our schools years ago. But things are changing now, so we need to have an update
Yes.
on what this thing look like, what they look like, and what these kids are
Absolutely.
using, because some kids are using, the guy had a soup can, and when the kid took it to school for lunch, and after he opened it up, this or that, it was an actual vape. Parents thought he was taking Campbell soup. So these are things that I think that we should have a look at and be made aware of, because it's been a long time since I've been in that training, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to mention the fact that that training is available to board members, but not only is it available to board members, it's available for free to anybody who resides in Oakland County.
I'm talking about security and teachers in our district.
Everybody.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Garrett, did you have something?
Couple things. I didn't see I'm sorry, I didn't see like, what was the cost?
There is no cost for the program.
Right.
Free.
Okay, but so, to facilitate the program, like, is there,
I get paid through the Alliance or through the Pontiac Community Foundation because they're our 503 sponsor, so everything is funded through different programs through the Alliance, so it's free.
okay.
So my time, if I
Use your-
facilitator would be,
Yeah, and use your mic, Denise, so the others can hear you too.
And this is,
so yeah, it's free.
and this is why I asked, because I don't want any gap, my hope is that we can get this started as soon as possible. So if it was something that we needed to do, I was willing to put a motion on the floor today that we start, as far as our funding is concerned, but if that's already covered and that's what it is, I mean, it's not something that we don't know about, it's not something that we haven't seen and haven't heard, and they collect vapes, hopefully that the city gets on board with what we've asked them to do as far as the legal side of it, not making it a criminal offense first. And so hopefully, we get on side of it. But that being said, if there's any additional or help or people that we need, because with the amount of folks that we do have in the district, we're talking about training. I mean, you're great, and I've seen your work, but you're one person.
Right.
And so if there's some other funding or other things that we need to do, if you can bring that to our attention as soon as possible.
So the facilitator program can be taken by any adult. So as a school, as a district, you can find a couple people that you would designate to that. If you're going to decide to do one-on-ones or group, if you get 10 students, you want to have a class, however you feel that you need to do it, then I would just give them the link. They would go online, they become a facilitator. We can figure out how we're going to do it as a district.
Yeah.
Well, would that be something that we can, I'm just flat out. Is that something that we can hire Denise to do? Because I'm not about to sit here and play a game like we got a bunch of people just waiting to do this, right? Like, so if there's some people, like if there's a set of funding, I'm sure we can find it. We just had an audit. I can find it. That we get with Ms. Denise as soon as possible, so she can hire whoever she needs to hire as far as her business is concerned. We do want facilitators in the district. We're going to need them. And so we don't want to just put it out there as if Pontiac Community Foundation is going to be able to afford that,
Right.
that side of. They're paying for you, but then there's some other parts to your business that needs to be taken care of. And I'm just saying, just putting it out there, that I want to support that I believe that the board wants to support that. We're going to find the money to support that. You're here, you're in the community, we know what you do. You work with the sheriff department. We just had this conversation. So I just want to just be as transparent as possible about it, that if you can get that budget number, whatever that could be, and whatever recommendation that you have as soon as possible to the board chair and the superintendent, so that I at least can vote on it before my last meeting, I would greatly appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I just wanted to share, thank you, Denise, thank you, Justin. We do know how important this is, and because we have seen cases within our district where we have students in elementary school that are vaping as well. So that is why we decided and knew how important it was for us to bring a program into our school. Not something that could be punitive for our students, but one that could educate them and things that we can put in place that can prevent them from further damaging their life, their brains, as you mentioned with the 7-year-old. So the next step is Denise is going to sit down with Dr. Leverett and I, and we're going to talk about what implementation looks like. But we wanted to bring this information to the board to let them know that we are trying to get ahead of the problem and correct the problem so that it will not cause any further damage in our students. So we want to now make sure that our teachers are educated and informed about this program, and then we will make sure that our families and students are aware of this program that is going to be taking place inside of the school district. So that's what that information is for. And on top of that, Trustee Garrett, you mentioned the city being supportive. We did attend city council meeting last week, and we had a first reading of a vaping ordinance that we were putting in place with the city. They were very responsive. There were some changes and suggestions that they had to how the material read, which we totally agreed, that we were going to make some corrections and then go back again for the second time. So there were some things, I'll give you an example. It had said no vaping in the city of Pontiac. So they wanted to be specific as to how that read, if we're looking at just school grounds or just school property or certain city events. So there were some things, and we did receive an email too from one of the councilwomen about some other recommendation changes as to how it could read. So in all fairness, we definitely wanted to redo it or edit it so that we can go back, because we wanted them to understand that we weren't looking to them to support us as it relates to punitive measures, but we wanted them to be on support to know that we are trying to educate our family, our students on the damages that this could cause and to prevent it from even getting that far. So there are some things that we're going to adjust. Attorney Seegers has the information, he has the ordinance, and so we'll just make sure that we do that before it goes back over to City Hall. Question, Terry, Treasurer Terry, you have a question? No? Okay.
I just had one question. In general, I guess, how many other schools are you currently active with and participating?
I can tell you, so based on our previous fiscal year, when it comes to vaping prevention education, we served around 1,900 people all across the county. 1,900 folks all across the county. We actually have an ongoing vaping education prevention program at Pontiac High. I'll be there tomorrow, bright and early at 7 o'clock in the morning. So it is very popular, it is very relevant, and it's also very needed.
So do you have any specific schools that you incorporating this program in that you want to bring here, or no?
Which one, in depth?
Yes.
So because I'm the prevention coordinator for Pontiac, I deal with the Pontiac district. The in-depth program is not through the Alliance, it's just something that is offered as part of different organizations working together. So I have not implemented it in any other school, I'm not sure if you have, but we know that it's available and they've set it up to do it, and there's statistics, it's the American Lung Association. So this actual program is available to the Alliance to give to resources to the schools we go in, if that makes sense.
Okay. And then I guess, is that a part of the discussion, I guess, as far as trying to incorporate it in all the schools, or will that be part of your discussion?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Elementary, middle school, and high school, for sure.
So I do want to mention that the in-depth program itself is only for ages 14
That's right.
to 18. But we do have.
that number? I'm
Just
sorry.
14, it starts at 14.
14 and up?
We do have Justin that can come in and he does, an awesome presentation. A lot of it is lack of education. They don't know, because we think that they have to be a teenager or preteen to be doing that. They see their older relatives, parents, everyone else doing it, so they don't know the education piece. So letting them know that before they even attempt to try it makes them make a better and more informed decision. So we could look at having Justin go into some of the schools because he is available through the Alliance at no charge. To educate them so that when they do get to middle and high school, then this program would be for those that did get caught. We don't want to punish them. We want to educate them and worry about their health and the risk that is taken on them.
Yeah, and to also speak to that point, one thing that I love is the fact that we are helping folks at all stages. So we have the prevention, we have the intervention, but we also have the cessation as well. So there are resources, there are elements, and there are programs available at no charge where we can cover making sure that everybody knows what the risks are, making sure that everybody is educated on what it can do to your body. And if you still so happen to make that choice for whatever reason it is, because we're not here to judge, it's only one person that can judge us and none of us are in that, he's not in this room, but
He's everywhere.
yeah, well, he's everywhere, but he's not sitting behind the mic like me, right?
Oh, yeah.
We can't judge why you do it, but we also have programs so that you are not getting kicked out, because I'm sure we all know if you kick a kid out of school for vaping, they go home and do what? Thank you, church. They go home and vape. They go home and vape. And then also, when that addiction, because there's so much nicotine in there, it's so potent, or maybe they're vaping THC, maybe they're vaping marijuana, and it's so strong, so potent, so addictive. There are programs that are available to help them stop as well, to help them wean off of it so that they can continue to live a healthy life.
Thank you. Thank you, Justin. PP Bowman, did you have something?
So with this training, or if someone wants to do the training, is it like a certificate, or and then once someone completes the program, do they walk away with something? What is outside of the knowledge? Sometimes people like takeaways, just
Yes.
what happens after.
So you go online, you complete the modules, you get a certificate at the end, and then you actually have to sign a facilitator agreement, and copies of all that is in here if you guys, I'll pass around a little bit. And then you have to take, like a little training, maybe an hour when your 2-year certificate is up. And then just to see if there's any updates, any new policies, anything like that, keep yourself informed. And you actually sign a facilitator agreement that you will not say that we're doing American Heart and then we start doing something else. Or, we're staying within their guidelines because we are representing I said American Heart, but I meant American Lung.
Thank you. Trustee
Thank
Kraft?
First of all, thank you for coming. And I think that when I speak on the whole city. And I think that this is a citywide problem. And I just don't think there's enough of you around here to combat it all. I wish we had more of you around here for this because, I run summer programs, and just last year, well, the year before, it wasn't last summer, but the year before, I had to confiscate one from one of my little 10-year-olds. She was bringing it there every day, smoking, and kids told on her. I would have never found it. And no way I would have found it managing all of those kids, but it took the other kids to actually tell her how it is. But this is a big problem, y'all. For real, we have new problems. This problem didn't exist when we were in school. And with everything going on, these new challenges in this world right now, we have another thing to deal with, on top of, with the literacy and getting that up. But we need more of you around. And thank you for showing up here.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions for Denise and Justin? Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
All right, Dr. Leverett, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hannah. At this time, we'll have a report from OC Parks Property Discussion. We have Chris Ward here and from Oakland County Parks.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Appreciate the opportunity to present to you tonight. I'm Chris Ward. I'm the director of Oakland County Parks, and I have with me John Noyes, who is a principal planner. Is that your title? Yes. John, I call him my Imagineer. He comes up with a lot of great ideas and makes the magic happen. I think it was about 6 months ago or so, I had the chance to present to you a little bit about what's going on at Pontiac Oaks, formerly Hawthorne Park.
Yes.
And Councilwoman James was with me, Mayor Grimel, and I think Councilman McGinnis was with me as well. And out of that meeting, one very positive thing happened is we had a great follow-up meeting with Vice President Bowman, and I put her together with this guy here, and they've been coming up with all kinds of ideas ever since, and really opened up a great, I think, friendship and conversation about how we can work together in many different fronts and partner to improve the lives of the folks here in Pontiac and the young people in Pontiac. And out of that came further conversation about maybe a different approach for this property, and appreciate Dr. Hannah and VP Bowman and Dr. Leverett for meeting with us. I think it was last week. We talked about a different approach here to work together for this property. Really, the goal here would be to form a partnership between us and Pontiac Schools and you, with the goal of reactivating a property that long served the young people of Pontiac as Hawthorne School years ago, and has since been sitting vacant. And the whole goal here would be to reactivate it as a safe place for kids to play and learn. And, partnerships is a term that is often thrown around now, but we really strongly believe in partnership. It's when we work together as government agencies to get out of our silos and pool our resources, work together, and focus on getting the best deal for the taxpayers, for the public, everybody wins. And we've found that here at this property. Just a little bit of background and reminder of what's happening there. A few things lined up to make this possible. So formerly the Hawthorne Park, 77-acre park on Telegraph Road, owned by the city of Pontiac. The American Rescue Plan Act that passed as a result of the pandemic, and to provide funding from the federal government to help us with pandemic response and recovery. County received a fair amount of money from that. And as we came out of the pandemic, I think all of us had this new appreciation for the role that parks play in our lives. I always say that it's probably the number one reason why the murder rate and divorce rate didn't go straight up during the pandemic, because we were all locked in the house together with no toilet paper. Parks did make a big difference, and I think it gave us a whole new appreciation for the health and well-being benefits of being outdoors and enjoying parks. And so it also was a wake-up call that not everybody has access to great parks, or some of the parks that just haven't had the funding they've needed and the attention and maintenance. And so those health benefits are sometimes you can't get all of that when you're in a space that you don't feel safe and don't feel welcomed and you don't feel like the space is valued. But there are some hidden gems out there, and one of them is Hawthorne Park. It's a beautiful piece of property on the lake there. And all of the assets are there. They just need some more funding and more attention. So we entered into this partnership with the city of Pontiac. Thankfully, the leadership there has been great to work with. A partnership we have found has to be built on trust, communication, adaptability, common goals, and measurable results. And I think we've fit all those goals with this. And a transformation is underway at the park right now and it's getting a whole new lease on life. And I hope, if you haven't had a chance to go out and see what's going on there, I hope you will. It's a work in progress. One of the things I've learned in talking with the residents of the city of Pontiac is they want to see action and less talk. When we signed our agreement with the city of Pontiac, they gave us the keys and gave us a week to take over the park. That was the last week of June last year, and by the first week of July, we were in the park cleaning out 10 dumpsters worth of garbage that we found throughout the park. We haven't found a body yet, but you never know. But we've also just really focused on tangible results that people can see. There was a fishing pier that was falling into the lake there that we've replaced with a brand new fishing pier. The bathroom sort of infamously was boarded up, never really opened because the plumbing had been torn out of there. Playground had some outdated features that weren't safe, and so we just really decided to go in and make a difference as quick as possible and show people we were serious. And I think that's really helped to build that trust and relationship with the residents there. So, we've reached those milestones. We've also had a great opportunity to engage with the residents of the community and get their opinions about what's important to them, what they'd like to see in the park. And that's helped us really come up with a good game plan. So with our initial ARPA funding, the next steps are we have a phase 1, which is that map behind Dr. Leverett will show you the major things that we're going to accomplish with the $1.5 million that we have available. The shoreline restoration, if you've been out to the lake, there's a lot of invasive species that have sort of choked the lake there, so we are doing a major shoreline restoration to open it up for more boating, fishing, kayaking opportunities. We're going to be adding a large pavilion down by the lake for community gatherings and family gatherings. A children's discovery trail to get kids out into the woods and engaged into nature, and some overall amenity improvements you'll see throughout the park. There's a limit to how far we're going to be able to take those dollars, but we're going to try to maximize the value there. If you go back one. So we have another opportunity to expand the park beyond the property that I'm here to talk to you about tonight. I just want to make you aware. We did receive a grant from Ducks Unlimited. There is some property along Walton Avenue there, Walton Road, that is for sale currently that we would like to try to acquire, and we've just received the grant, so we're in conversations with the property owner, but that'll give us a chance to create a shoreline trail and really a nice experience that wraps all the way around the lake there. But what I'm here to talk to you about tonight is your property, which we've kind of called a youth activity area for lack of a better term. But we have some rough concepts of what we would maybe want to accomplish there, but the way this agreement would work, it would be a back and forth conversation with the district in terms of what types of improvements we would put in there. But I'm going to turn over to John to just share some of the concepts that he's come up with, and we'll go from there.
Excellent. Thank you all so very much. Like what Chris said, we don't have unlimited funds, but we do have some really neat opportunities at this particular site. There's some really neat natural areas, some wonderful topography overlooking the lake. And so some of the things that we had kind of thought would be fun to explore with the district, really encouraging nature play, which I don't know if anyone has kind of seen what some of the nature play concepts are, but it really is, it's like a natural version of a playground, essentially, where you're having kids play on rocks and logs and get muddy and dirty and be outside. A splash pad, something that we've heard residents ask for, especially as we're closing some of our other aquatic features. We're looking to potentially create additional community cooling opportunities, and we think that there are significant opportunities here at this site. Trail connectivity, again, like Chris said, going through the school's property to kind of connect up through that Ducks Unlimited funded property up to Walton. And then citizen science. One of the things that we believe that there are tremendous opportunities to do is to take so many of the things that we're currently doing as a park system, including our like the restoration of the shoreline, and then open that up to both student and citizen participation. There are opportunities for everything from water quality testing that could occur to having folks participate in the identification and removal of exotic species. So it would be really neat to utilize this particular site as kind of a learning lab so that the work and the effort and the resources that we're putting into actually managing the landscape are also used to benefit the students along the way.
Thanks, John. So just a couple nuts and bolts in terms of how an operating and management agreement would work. And again, it's the same terms as we have entered into with the city of Pontiac. You would retain ownership of the property. We would enter into what we would hope be a 20-year renewable operations and management agreement. Our responsibility would be to take on the cost of the improvements, operation, maintenance, and the day-to-day responsibilities of managing the park. We would co-brand it as a cooperative facility of both of us. We would collaborate in determining the improvement plan for the park, hopefully collaborate in terms of programming that could be offered at the facility. If for some reason the agreement has to be canceled, then the way we've worked this in the past is that if we had invested in some of the fixed assets, then the depreciated value you'd pay us back if you took the property back. And that's kind of the basic nuts and bolts of the agreement. It allows us to take all of the dollars and put it into improving the park rather than spending money on acquisition. And in that way, it's a real win-win for the public and really allows us to focus on that action aspect as opposed to the talk aspect and losing time as we're working through the deals of selling property. So that's a nice win-win. But the other thing I think is great about it is it really lays a foundation for more. Success builds on success in my experience. We do have these great conversations that are going on. They've got ideas between the two of them. I'm sure you have ideas as board members. I know from dealing with the city that there are some high priorities that we need to really work on, and we want to bring our resources to the table. We were fortunate to have the millage increase pass at the last election. Really, for the first time, that's going to allow us to truly serve the whole county. We have not had the presence in the city that we should have had. City has been neglected in the big picture, and we're in a rush to make up for that. And we really want to make a big impact with these dollars. There are some great things that we can do beyond this, but this would be a nice way to start moving that relationship forward and get tangible results. School field trip programs, working together on aquatic access and a pool solution for the community. I don't have plans for all that, but I think we can get there if we start to show what we can get done by partnering together to get to our common goals. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions or concerns.
Yes, thank you. Trustee Crab?
Thanks for coming and the presentation, wonderful presentation. But when I speak for our city. And I know you're going to have a splash pad, I take it, right?
It's the concept.
It's the concept. Okay. Now, would it be any charge to anyone? That's what we have to make clear for our citizens and stuff to know that there is no charge.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That is one of the elements of our Pontiac agreement as well. There'd be no charge to enter these parks, and there may be for specialized programming, but we would write it into the agreement that unless the two parties both agreed to have a fee for something, and sometimes with these splash pads, to keep them going over the long time, you might need to have a nominal fee just to pay them, operating costs, but we don't plan on it at this point.
Okay, I think that needed to be clarified right there. And another thing that I'm a stickler for is mainly that is a 20-year agreement that is auto-renewable. I get that, but we have to put something in there because I know I won't be around here in another 50 years. There's no sale.
Yeah.
Can be put into this agreement that there's no sale absolutely from this.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe in selling property that we already own. and stuff, because we can utilize it in other, for other things. So, yes, as
Okay.
long as there's no sale in here, I'm for it right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Agreed.
Trustee Kraft. Trustee Gross.
Thank you. We discussed this at our board governance last week, and during that time, I was thinking about, thank you for your presentation, first of all. And this is a great idea, but something we need to think about as it pertains to activities for us kids here, that we need to think of something that's year-round. Because I'm looking at like Campus Marsh, whatever it is in Detroit where they do the skating, something where there's going to be some type of activity, not just splash pads in the summer. That thing shuts down in the fall. But what do we have for them in the winter? Whether it's a big snow slide or even just some, skiing lessons or somewhere with heels over there, or even a skating. And so I'm thinking, when we look at this, let's look at something that we can do for year-round, not just a summer activity.
Yep, that's a great point. It's very much on our mind. Winter recreation is really suffering
getting
because
bigger
of precipitation and weather change. So,
I'm not going to promise you I'm going to be there.
okay. All right.
I'm allergic to the cold, so.
Okay. Well, we're open to all ideas, and as I said, the way the agreement would work
Yeah.
is we would come to a mutual agreement on what the
Sure, I
improvements
just
are.
want us to look at something year-round.
Could be splash pad, there's other concepts for ice rinks.
Absolutely.
There's also the facility that we are in early conversations about partnering with. It's over the border in Bloomfield, but they have that inner tube facility there. So, there are ways that we can take things that are already out there and just make them available and accessible for everybody.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Treasurer Terry.
Yeah, once again, good presentation. Appreciate all the information and everything. The one question I had was, if this was to move forward, I guess, what are your plans as far as timing goes? I know you mentioned something already about the city and, they're eager to see action and
Yeah.
let's talk. But what would be your timing if we were to decide to go forward with the partnership?
Thanks for the question. Yesterday would have been perfect in this scenario, but the sooner that we have an understanding, it takes time sometimes for these agreements to get finalized, but if we know we're heading in the right direction, we're at a critical point because of the ARPA money that's involved in this. There are federal regulations that we have to get those dollars committed. And so, if we're going to expand the plan for the park, be, purchasing that other property and entering this agreement, then we can, have a larger vision for the park. So the sooner we know this is likely to happen, the better as far as those things are concerned. What we'd love to do is, while we're mobilizing for construction for some of these other projects that are being done, if we can scale things up while we have the work being done, we could save some money and show progress. So, I know it probably doesn't help, but the sooner we have a general feeling, I know that once we know we're going to get there, we'll get there with the details. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay. And then my other question I had, I know the school district would still retain the ownership of the property. Would we have any other responsibility
No.
involved with this at all?
Just the collaborative conversation about decision-making and anything we'd like to cooperate on. But that would be, your decision, what your level of involvement would be. But we would, all of the responsibilities of managing the site, improving the site, maintaining it, all would be on us.
Okay. And then if any of that, I guess you want to say, design would potentially want to be changed, is that something that you would bring back to the table to have an internal discussion?
Yeah.
To see how it fits with the school
Yeah.
district? Okay.
We've done several of these. In some instances, the governing board likes to delegate that to an administrative person, or sometimes they like it to come back to the governing board. It's up to you, and so we'll put that in the draft agreement, and you can let us know what feedback you have and which direction you'd like to go.
Okay. And then I noticed you did add parking. I know before it was a little struggle with some parking over there.
We
I
do,
see you
yeah.
adding additional parking. Do you know approximately, I guess, how many vehicles or?
I don't know. Parking's already an issue there because especially the disc golf that was, developed there over the years. There's limited parking, so we know we need to add it. But I don't know, maybe John, you have an idea?
It all just depends. On the drawing that we had kind of shown there, I think that there was about 150 parking spaces, but that was sort of like, we were just kind of moving stuff around, kind of 36 at a block there. But it really has to do with what other things that we want to have on the site. We also want to be able to, manage our stormwater and everything else appropriately and not really overwhelm the site with too much parking in any one area. Also, distance between that parking and the attraction is also something we want to minimize.
Okay.
Excellent question.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Any other
All
questions?
right, yeah, trustee Kraft.
Yeah, just one quick note. I would really advocate for having the splash pad in this area, because if you look at it, there's none in this area.
Yeah.
I have to take my daughter. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and we frequently go down to Normandy Oaks.
Okay.
To that splash pad and that beautiful playground down there. And I think it'll be a plus and an asset to our neighborhoods, and to have our to have that where it's accessible for our people here.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, VP Bowman.
I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to say thank you so much. I am excited about the potential partnership here because there has been a missing presence of Oakland County here in Pontiac. So this would be just a continuation of a wonderful project that you have already started. So I'm looking forward to working together and seeing what we all can bring forth for the youth, for the school district. This is an exciting opportunity. I'm voting for Phoenix Oaks, I'm just gonna call it that.
Okay.
And I'm excited. So, we hopefully, as far as the collaboration and the nature and getting the people in the community of Pontiac used to outdoor things, and it's just an exciting opportunity. So good job, Oakland County.
We thank you for your friendship and willingness to work with us.
You got it, Pontiac forever.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're good?
All set.
Questions?
All right, thanks a lot.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. All right, continuing on down on our agenda, moving to regular working agenda, discussion, D. Yep, we added item D. Dr.
Thank you,
Leverett.
Dr. Hannah. So this evening, I invited Dr. Carrie Krantz here to just give an overview of the services that she provides, because as we're talking as a district about what our restructuring could potentially look like, but more importantly, the services that she could provide to our students and staff as a whole in terms of the listening circles, and then connecting all of those pieces to our curriculum and instruction to make sure that we're having that we have a solid plan in place and we know where we're going moving forward. We are really at a critical juncture here. We've heard and we are responding to a real and present need expressed from our leadership as well as our teachers and our students. We had a meeting at Pontiac Middle School about a month or so ago with parents involved, and so we're really trying to take a deeper dive and know and understand what those unique challenges are, and again, what plans we can put in place to support all students. And so with that being said, I'll turn it over to Dr. Krantz.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me this evening, and what a beautiful facility. This is my first time being in this administration building, and it's absolutely lovely, so thank you very much. Who am I and what do I bring to the table? I have been a teacher, a building principal. I have spent about 20 years working in instructional leadership at the central office level. And my primary passion is helping schools and districts build a culture of trust and support and belonging and care. So instruction is my thing, environment is my thing, and that has led me to evolve after, and when I say this number, I'm almost embarrassed because I don't feel this old, but I bring 40 years of experience to the table in all of those roles. And I just want to say, My style of working with schools, and I've worked with many, in Colorado and in Michigan, primarily in Michigan, but I did spend 5 years working in a predominantly Hispanic district in Colorado. And the environment, especially post-COVID, has brought turmoil to so many different organizations and schools. I sought specialized training to bring a fresh idea, a fresh perspective to the table to help any organization, primarily schools, who are struggling with perhaps new enrollments, expanding complexities like vaping and all the new things that are coming to the table, but really to get at the heart of what are our kids thinking, what are our adults thinking, what are our expectations for one another. And when we bring people together in a controlled environment where it's very trusting and everybody has an equal opportunity to speak, what we're finding is that people get to the root of what they're worried about and what they're concerned about. And having had the chance to actually not be timed in a 3-minute public comment, but to really be able to express without being rushed, with everybody at the table listening, the results are quite powerful. Even by just the act of having a group of people listening to the experiences and the concerns of an individual, the weight shifts. And there is an empowerment, a feeling of agency when people are able to express the way they're feeling. So I work with communities where board relationships and communities have broken down. I've worked with organizations where staff members are not trusting of administration. Any variable that has impacted the overall joy that is being held in a facility or an organization, that's what I bring to the table. I've held over 150 listening sessions in organizations, and I can tell you that at the end of these, each session is about 90 minutes. When I work with adults, they very much do not want the session to end. They want to continue to talk, and they are not timed. They are a rule-based. Everybody knows the expectations and the rules of the game as we hold these sessions, and I've never had anybody get out of hand. There have been some emotions shared, but because of the rules of the game, if you will, that everybody is listening intentionally, without nodding, without shaking their head, without offering any kind of reinforcement or disagreement, any body language, that we can really listen to somebody that may hold very different views from ourselves and learn from their experiences where they're coming from. What happens in holding a series of those with students, with staff, with board members, with community members, business leaders, etc., is you really come to common themes that emerge, that everybody has had a hand in their voice shaping what the themes are that can guide your next moves as an organization. So I'm very proud of them, and simultaneously with holding listening sessions is you're also teaching the people who care about your district how they can hold those sessions in the future. So it could be an add-on to your board. If you have a sticky situation that is causing a lot of grief or a lot of emotions, you could hold a listening session yourself and diffuse the voices, but get everybody at the table in a constructive way to guide your decision making. Hand in hand with that is having a perspective of a collaborative process to look at what is it we're teaching in our classrooms. And based on what our students tell us, what they're concerned about, what drives them to want to come to school, or what is it that they don't want to be at school about. And so we then, I work with teachers and leaders and draw upon the expertise in the buildings, in the district, to really say, we've got your curriculum on paper, this is what it looks like, this is what we say we're doing, but when we ask teachers individually to outline what it is they're really doing, easily in groups of like teams, all fourth grade teachers, all high school science teachers, together, they put up on the board all the things they're doing, and then the teachers literally say, oh, I thought we did away with that, or that's a redundancy, or I want to do that, how could we make that more positive? And it's a truly transparent, honest look at what's happening in the classroom on any given time period. This is a deep dive into culture, it's a deep dive into curriculum and instruction, and then outcomes come from that collectively represent everybody at the table in all aspects, for you then to look at what are our strengths, what are our opportunities. I use an appreciative lens, and I use a strengths-based lens. So I ask about positive things first, we talk about positive, we build a trusting environment, and people speak honestly. So that's it in a nutshell.
Any questions from trustees? Yes, trustee Gross.
Thank you.
Yes.
One of my concerns is, how does one actively involve themselves if they're not emotionally attached to doing this? There's a difference between doing something when you're told you're going to do it or when you're asked to do it. And as it pertains to school districts, and I'm not just speaking of Pontiac alone, if you're trying to get people at the table, especially those who are working in the district, right? It always comes back to, well, we need to negotiate this in our contract because it's after school, it's taking, get where I'm going with this? And so that's a good thing, because I've been preaching since 1999. We all need to be on one page together. And that hasn't happened since 1999. That everybody is going here and everybody wants to do their own thing, but you become unemotionally attached if you're told to do it. And we have a district where we have a difficult time getting teachers to come here. And now to get someone involved, emotionally involved in, because this is a good thing, because you'll be able to express themselves. And then how do you alleviate the emotional concern that I'm going to be held accountable if I say something against someone that's either my superior or my colleague? And you say be open and be positive. You said that. You got to be able to say and speak your mind. You said that. But how do you eliminate someone who feels that they'll be retaliated against?
May I address that?
Yes, and I just want to say one thing, Dr. Krantz, too. I think the wonderful part of this opportunity is, one, is the need is there, and our data indicates it.
It is.
And that the staff as well as the administrators are saying, what is the next steps in terms of how the district intends to support us? So there's an open opportunity there. And then I'll let Dr. Krantz answer the second part of that.
That you have a very valid concern,
Yes.
and one that I hold dear to my heart. Nobody's going to come into a room and sit and talk to me if they know that everything they say is going to be reported back to somebody. I am doing this work and I am asked to come back, and the word is traveling that ask her to come to the district because I maintain complete anonymity. It is a promise. I script by hand versus recording. I eliminate every name. I work very hard to put the qualitative data in a report that is broad themes that are said. And I do that by scripting everything. Then I transpose that, type it all up. Then I put that on a spreadsheet with the like sentences, if you will. And then I count them to say, we talked to 130 people. 76 mentioned this. So I don't ever use names. I don't ever say, oh, this was at this elementary school. It is purely anonymous. The results are very positive, and I've never broken that anonymity. And I work really hard to change the context in the sharing so that there's no way somebody can come back and say, well, that was a custodian, or that was a parapro, and that, no. Nope.
Thank you.
Now, what I have to say to the people in the room, however, if I have 12 teachers that are meeting with me, I have to say, this is where we have to trust one another. It's not going to come from me, what is said, and the progress that we're going to have and the impact of your voice in the district is as confidential as you hold one another to.
Gotcha.
Got me?
Gotcha. Thank you. I'm going to be positive.
Okay.
Thank you, Doctor.
Other questions?
VP Bowman, did you have something? Did you have something to share, VP Bowman? No, she's good.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll take any, feel free to call me with questions of any kind.
Thank you so much. All right, we're good. All right, thank you. All right, moving now down the agenda, regular working agenda, discussion item, resolution in support of Protect My Kids bill package in Michigan, legislative to address the lack of effective statewide tobacco prevention policies. And that would be me.
That is you.
Thank you, Seegers, for this resolution. So just to piggyback on our conversation previously as we were talking about vaping, as we see, this is not just a local issue, but this is an issue across the states. And so Senate has put a bill out that they're looking to get passed to see how we can even hold our retailers accountable for the sale of these products to our students. So this is a resolution that was created to go to our legislators to let them know that we are in support of these bills so that we can, again, put some measures in place to keep our students safe. So I will read this resolution. It says, whereas tobacco use is the leading cause of preventable disease, disable, and death in Michigan. Tobacco kills more than 16,200 Michiganders annually, more than AIDS, alcohol, car accidents, illegal drugs, murders, and suicides combined. And whereas Michigan is one of 12 states that make up Tobacco Nation, where the smoking prevalence is higher compared to the rest of the country. Tobacco costs Michigan over $5.3 billion in healthcare expenditures and $11.5 billion in lost productivity each year. And whereas flavored tobacco increases youth usage. In 2023, 90.3% of high school students and 87.1% of middle school students who use e-cigarettes reported using a flavored e-cigarette. Youth who vape use a product because they come in flavors I like. Whereas historically, cigarette companies have disproportionately marketed menthol products in predominantly black communities by using culturally tailored advertising images and messages. 85% of African American adults smoke using menthol products. This is 3 times the rate of menthol use among white adult smokers, worsening tobacco-related health disparities. And whereas Michigan state law prohibits local government from enacting policies that regulate the sale of tobacco and nicotine products and require tobacco retailers licensure, preventing local communities from protecting kids' health. And whereas Senate Bill 647 restores local control and repeals state law prohibiting local governments from enacting ordinances and regulations pertaining to the sale or licensure of tobacco products, allowing localities to pass stronger tobacco control measures. And whereas Senate Bill 648 proposes to establish a new tax on e-cigarettes and increase taxes on cigarettes and other tobacco products, with revenue generated dedicated to tobacco prevention and ceasing programs, and enforcement of tax and smoke-free air laws, aligning with evidence-based strategies to reduce tobacco use, especially among youth. And whereas Senate Bill 649 and 650 aim to prohibit the sale of flavored tobacco products, including flavored e-cigarettes and menthol-flavored cigarettes, recognizing the significant role flavors play in driving tobacco-related inequities and youth initiatives. And whereas Senate Bill 651 and 652 establishes a statewide tobacco retail licensing program requiring all establishments selling nicotine or tobacco products to obtain a license, improving compliance with an existing tobacco sales regulation and reducing youth initiation to nicotine. And whereas Senate Bills 653 and 654 repeal provisions in the Youth Tobacco Act that impose civil and criminal penalties on minors for purchasing, using, or possessing tobacco products. And whereas the school district of the City of Pontiac recognizes that it is in the best interest of the student population and the greater Pontiac community at large to have measures in place to discourage the use and possession of tobacco and vaping products by minors to prevent potential harm. Now therefore, be it resolved that the school district of the City of Pontiac Board of Education supports the Protect My Kids Bill package, Senate Bill 647 through 654, and urges the Michigan Senate Committee on Regulatory Affairs begin hearings on these bills as soon as possible. Be it further resolved that the school district of the City of Pontiac Board of Education calls on legislators to swiftly pass these critical bills in their entirety to protect the health and well-being of Michigan residents. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to the members of the Senate Committee on Regulatory Affairs, the members of the Michigan Senate who represent the school district of the City of Pontiac, and to the Michigan Association of School Boards. Resolved and adopted this 18th day of November 2024. Thank you.
Just a comment.
Yes, Trustee Gross.
Thank you. I appreciate this, and this is something that is extremely serious now, because over the years, we see how things have changed from cigarettes were detrimental. I recall when Ms. Dooley and I were in high school, we had smoking rooms, and there was no age in high school. We had smoking rooms, right? Right at the end of our where our locker rooms were. Yeah, we had smoking rooms. Programs that I worked in as a program therapist and family worker, kids were allowed to smoke. And we're talking as young as 12, 13 years old. And so that began to change because of what government did. Then we had concerns where they were selling, gas stations and stores were selling the fake marijuana stuff. Remember that stuff that they were selling? Kids were smoking that and dying and killing their parents. That stuff started to cease. But then they brought on flavored and menthol for the kids. It was a remedy to cigarettes to prevent, to help the adults with these vapes. We got to do something because it's not getting better. And that's why I asked the question, the youngest age. You're talking 7 years old, and they're not buying it at a store. They're getting it from somewhere and could be getting it from home. So we need to, I'm just asking for support of this because we need to do something in this district to show how concerned we are. And I appreciate this resolution, and I'm going to support it. But we got to continue to take steps further. And I'm asking the city to stay involved with this as well, because it's just as important with them, because they're going to send out the forces to stop these side stores and gas stations to sell these vapes to older kids to give to younger kids. So we need to do something, and I appreciate you bringing this forward.
Okay. Thank you. Any
Next
other-
step is social media. Let me call it.
All right. Any other comments? Yes, VP Bowman.
I'm glad for this because vaping is a very serious matter, and I'm glad that we are taking the proper steps to make sure that Pontiac students are safe. So thank you for that.
Thank you. All right, moving down the agenda for the, can I get a motion for the approval of the resolution?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Trustee Gross, supported by VP Bowman, for the approval of the resolution in support of Protect My Kids Bill package and Michigan legislator to address the lack of effective statewide tobacco prevention programs. Any questions? Roll call.
Trustee Gross,
Yes.
President Hannah,
Yes.
Treasurer Terry,
Yes.
VP Bowman,
Yes.
and I'm voting yes. That passes 5-0.
Thank you. All right. Now, moving on down, finance items.
You got to do your new
Social-
policy.
new-
New policy by the VP.
Yes, VP. Sorry about that.
6:41.
All right, VP Bowman, floor is yours.
Good evening. This is the first reading for the new policy regarding board trustees and the use of social media. Okay, so the background rationale, the Board of Education should adopt the board trustee use of social media policy to establish clear guidelines on the appropriate use of social media by trustees, ensuring their online presence aligns with the board's missions and maintains the integrity of the educational institution. Below, there are several key reasons why we need this policy. One, preservation of public trust and professionalism. Two, clear boundaries between personal and professional roles. Three, consistency in messaging and district representation. Four, protection of confidential and sensitive information. Five, mitigation of legal and ethical risks. 6, encouragement of positive and community engagement. 7, adaptability to change the digital landscape.
In summary.
Okay, good, thank you. In summary, adopting the Board of Trustee use of social media policy will provide trustees with clear guidelines to ensure responsible, consistent, and ethical engagement on social media platforms. This policy will ultimately enhance the public trust, safeguard the board's reputation, and protect the interest of the district and its stakeholders. The recommendation is that the policy committee and the Board of Education approve the new board trustees' use of social media policy. This is just the first reading, but this is the policy recommendation for the Board of Education.
All right, thank you. Trustees, any questions?
Yes, how many readings do we need before we go for approval? 2. So if we were to come back in our early December meeting to read it that day, we could actually also approve it that day?
Yes, on December 2nd, yes.
All right, okay, we need to get this done immediately.
All right, any other questions? Thank you. Thank you, VP.
Thank you.
Good job. All right, now we're going to move down to the finance report. Dr. Leverett.
Thank you. At this time, I'll turn it over to Pete, who will give the presentation in terms of our audit impact to the general fund operations. Pete.
Thank you. So, okay. So this is our 23-24 audit impact to the general fund operations. The first slide, or do I just click? Which one is it? Oh. That's the one on the right, okay, thank you.
Pete Technology.
All right, that's it. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. So the first slide, the major highlights, again, we had a $1.3 million net loss in the general fund, mostly due to the timing of some federal grant drawdowns and some other factors such as wage increases and border reviews for property taxes. This is only 1% different from our budget amendment number 2. We thought we'd break even, so it's within $1.3 million or 1% of our general fund expenditures, which is a good estimate. That means our budgeted amount for net income was accurate, so we can have some credibility with the number. Decrease in fund balance from 18 million to 16.7 million, or 19.9% to 14.4%. We're still in double digits. That's good news. We want to stay at least above 10% for cash flow purposes. But we are trending downwards, as we talked about on some of our sessions about right sizing. We're starting to trend down. So 1.3 million, and then we budgeted next year for $2.9 million of a loss. And again, that's with the loss of the ESSERS funding, increases in wage and salaries, expenses, inflation, all that. So just something to be proactive about. As I'll show in a later slide, the fund balance includes $7 million of a tax anticipation note, which artificially props it up. So our true net fund balance would be more like 9.7 million if we take out the $7 million tax anticipation note. We had 2 financial statement findings, mainly due to business office turnover vacancies and some federal grant award budgets that Jennifer talked about. However, we're still doing very well in terms of findings over the last 20 years, which my next slide will show. So here we have audit findings over the last 20 years. So as you see here, we peaked in 2013-14 at 20, and over the last 8 years, since 2015-16, we've been between 0 and 2. So that's much better than where we were back in the day. And obviously we want to get to 0, but with the complexities that we have and the turnover, but that's still very good, relatively speaking. So our 23-24 general fund budget, just showing the progression of where we started, adopted back in June of 2023 at $239,000 as a surplus. Amendment number 1 in January of $207,000. Amendment number 2 in June of $55,000. So we're pretty consistent. The actual is $1.3 million, again, because of some timing of some federal grant drawdowns. But overall, no surprises in terms of where we're at, so that's good. We didn't have anything that was radically different from what we had budgeted for. Here's a bar graph of our general fund surplus. So basically net income or loss over the last 20 years. So again, as we see, go back in 07, we started losing money, and then we really had some bad years. We bottomed down in 2013-14 at about a $15 million net loss. And then, as you see, we've had a nice streak of net income over the last 10 years. Now, there's one caveat here, is that tax anticipation note played a role in some of those years. So it's, again, an accounting gimmick. It basically props up your net income. We had it up to about $15 million in 2019-20. So even though it seems like on paper we're doing great from a net income standpoint, it was somewhat artificial because of that. And then the last 4 years we've had the ESSERS monies too that has kind of propped it up. So we'll get a true picture of our net income and fund balance this year, 24-25, moving forward as the ESSER money goes away and we start paying down the tax anticipation note. So here we have general fund balance. This is not net income, but our actual fund balance. So again, starting in 09, we had a deficit that we experienced, a very bad era with fund balance bottoming out at a $52 million negative fund balance, as we all remember, most of us do. And then we started trending upward. We had a nice streak there. Again, one word of caution, part of it's the tax anticipation note, and the last few years, it's the ESSERS money. But again, at least we were trending upwards, and currently on the far right, 23-24, we're at $16.7 million as a fund balance, slightly less than $18 million. But, the key here is we want to stay above the break-even line. We don't want to go down and start eating into our fund balance. So now's the time to be proactive while we have a chance to right size. And just, I'm sorry, do you have a question?
No, I just was reading, that was 11 years in a row we were in a deficit.
Yep. And just one more word about that. So we're at, again, 14.4% fund balance. The sweet spot is between 13 and 17% where we want to be. We don't want to be obviously below that because of cash flow situations, but we don't want to be above 17 because then you have over fund balance and we're not a bank. So we want to have a sweet spot of 13 to 17%.
I do have a question.
Yep.
And I don't know if you can answer this question, Pete. Based on those amount of years of deficit, I know we made some adjustment and some changes. Do we have any, I don't need it tonight, if you know something off the top of your head, the actual cause and effect. I knew in 2008, the country it was terrible then, 2008 and 9. But when you're talking, how many years after 2008 and 9? I can't see that. What is that?
You mean in terms of we were in deficit?
So
yeah, that was all the way
2008 and 9
until 2021.
So whatever we were doing then, I know we made some adjustment and changes, but I'd really, out of curiosity, and I don't want that answer tonight. We can get that. We'll go over that together. I'll come see you. But what actually caused that? So we can prevent ourselves from even looking at near to that in the future, because we are now losing ESSER dollars. We're soon going to lose bond money to rebuild, replace, refurbish, and then we're looking at general fund because that deficit was in the general fund, correct?
Right.
And so, what caused that for so many years in a row? And I would like to know what caused it, what did we do to change it, and what can we do to prevent that again?
Well, just in general, what caused it was your student enrollment cratered.
I knew that.
A big part of it.
One of the things was charter schools came in and took our kids.
Right. And then the increase is due in part to the tax anticipation note, but also we right-sized some operations. There were some borrowings done, so there was things that were done to get that back up there. And we went on a formula too. That was the other thing I think that really saved us. I don't know what year that was exactly, I could find out, but at some point we went out of formula. That means we got more money than the state could give us, so that helped.
And I'm going to be transparent too. I'm not going to name any names, but I think too during those years, based on those who were on the board and administration at that time too, made some terrible decisions. Some inconsistent decisions. I won't say terrible. I'm not transparent. Bad decisions because it lasted so long. And I'm just saying that now to this table and those who are incoming. This is our past. We need to use our past as a learning tool to avoid what will happen in the future. Because there were some terrible decisions made with monies we didn't have. Because as you see, when you start from that first year, we went to a deficit. It grew larger because more monies were being spent to increase a larger deficit. So someone was making bad decisions. And the administration could do this themselves without the assistance of board members approving it. So I just want us to, for the future, to take a look at this. This is our past. We don't ever want to get there again. And I don't care if we just, that's a lot. That deficit increased over years. And then some better decisions were being made, and it started decreasing. Thank you. I left in 07, so it started in 09.
So our next graph is a line graph, and so this measures a few different things. So the red is the break-even point for fund balance. The green is actual fund balance, again, over the last 20 years, and similar to what we saw in the last graph, it cratered in 2013, and then it steadily went back up to where we are today. The black line is the tax anticipation note line that started in, looks like 2016, went up to 15.5 million, and then we paid it down to about 7 million, so we cut it in half, which is good. The purple line is the most interesting line because that's our general fund debt. So that's the emergency loans, and we had an energy loan too in there. So that got up to 35 million in 07, and then it came down a little bit, and then it went back up and when things got bad, and then you see it gone sharply down this year. That's because of the forgiveness of the $18 million from the state. So that's a game changer. That's a really big development for us. And the takeaway from this, which is good news, is that for the first time in 20 years, our fund balance is greater than our general fund debt plus the TAN. So we're at 16.7 million fund balance, the TAN 7 million. We still have 6 million of a old energy bond, which we're just paying back gradually, but we're 3 million positive net worth versus being negative net worth for the first time in 20 years. So that's...
The fund balance?
Yes, when you look at fund balance and you compare it to the debt, our fund balance is higher than our debt for the first time in 20 years.
And the fund balance also, too, the fundings, we can use the interest that comes from that account.
Well, you're talking about the interest expense or the...
No, the interest monies that we receive for the amount of monies we have in those accounts.
Yeah, the general fund, yes.
General fund and the...
Well, the bond fund, we get interest on
I
it,
know
too.
the bond fund is different. Okay.
But we list, obviously list interest expense, that's a huge reduction of expense in the general fund. So again, that's a positive takeaway.
It is, thank you.
So...
Thank you, Dr.
Components of our operational deficit. Let's see in our next. Yeah, thank you. So what were the components of the 23-24 net loss? Again, we talked about the federal program reimbursement timing, the 60-day rule. On the other side, we had some savings. We didn't fill all our vacancies, which is not good from a quality of service standpoint, but financially, we do save some money when we can outsource versus a full-time employee. We had some reductions in property tax revenues because of board of review adjustments. And wage and salary increases obviously play a key role, and that's a structural factor. The other items are one-time. This is structural, so that's why it's so important to negotiate credible contracts with the unions that are budget-friendly and we can sustain them. And we continue to have issues with food service, and that's something that we're going to have to work on to get better. That's just, whether it's the high school kitchen or the point-of-sale system, we're going to have to work on that. The next, in terms of impacting future budgets, so these are the factors that will reduce fund balance that we have to look for. So full staffing, obviously, full-time employees become more and more expensive as we go along because of healthcare and MepSurge and all that. Obviously, our union contracts and wage benefit increases are necessary because we have to retain employees, attract new employees. We have to, be similar with the market there. So we're going to have to continue to increase there. Inflation has gone down. Obviously, the rate of inflation has moderated, but we're still much higher than we were 3 years ago, 30% higher. And even though the rate's only going up 2 to 3%, it's still going up. It's not coming back down. So that's something that's going to wreak havoc on our budget. Obviously, the loss of the COVID-19 funding, the ESSER fiscal cliff, we get 17 building subs and 2 tech assistants, about 1.4 million that have to go to the general fund now from ESSER. And then we also have some Title I money shifting over from Title I to general fund. So together, those were about $2.3 million, and that makes up most of that $2.9 million budget net loss for this year that we're trying to right-size. We also are going to continue to pay down the TAN as soon as we can here because, again, interest accrues in this, attorney fees, and it's a liability that we just want to get rid of and make a clean balance sheet. New programs initiative, whether it's technology-related or other, will continue to be a cost that we'll have to bear here. And something that just came up over the weekend I didn't have time to put on my PowerPoint was House Bill 6058. You may have heard about the hard caps. They're looking in a lame duck session of making some major revisions, whether either eliminating that or making that go higher. Whatever it is, if it be eliminated, that's a huge game changer from the district standpoint because they'll add millions onto our expense. So there's no telling what will happen. We'll know in December if that's going to be either they're talking about a 7% increase or eliminating the hard caps. But either way, it's going to be a pretty big hit for us. So that's something we have to look for in the near term. And then items impacting future budgets that are positive. So, obviously property tax revenues will continue to grow, but they will moderate as inflation goes down, so will property values start to moderate. So we won't get the 9% increases we've been getting recently, so that'll have an effect on our revenues. And it also affects the wage formula going down too. We've had increases in at-risk funding and special ed reimbursements since 23-24, so that's a positive development that we received from the state. Interest income that Trustee Gross mentioned, again, that was a big windfall for us. On those buses, the $9.1 million advanced bus rebate, we got about $500,000 in interest last year. That's one time, so that was a real big positive that would have made us, instead of losing $1.3 million, we lost $1.8 million, so that it does play a difference. And just our interest earnings in general were very high last year, but they will moderate. Interest rates are going down, so we won't have that benefit this year. Now, next year in 24 and 25, 26, there's a MEPSR's rate reduction of 5.75%, which will help also, especially if we have that hard cap increase, it'll help mitigate some of that. But the key thing that I'm seeing here is the hard caps. That's going to be the game changer if that does change. Trend issues, again, just in general, 2020-24, we have the ESSER's revenues that help the general fund out $65 million over 4 years, that we did some supplanting and some supplementing. So cost in the general fund went down, ESSER's revenues go up. And then in 24-25, just the opposite will be happening as the ESSER's funding goes down, the costs in the general fund go up because just so the ESSER fiscal cliff, those 17 billing subs, the tech assistance, that goes back in the general fund, so that increases. That's not a good development. And the ESSER's funding expired on September 30th. We applied for extension for liquidation, but we're winding that down. The last slide, just major points of consideration moving forward with ESSER gone and in full operating mode. The days of these large surpluses that we saw in the previous graph will likely end. And again, it's fine if we stay in the 14 to 15% fund balance sweet spot, but losing money is going to be the challenge. Eliminating through right sizing is really the necessity at this point that we need to look at. As I say here, right sizing, the $2.9 million budget net loss. And the other point I made, which I did make earlier also, the $16.7 million fund balance should be for only emergency or unforeseen circumstances, not structural deficits. So that's why it's important to eliminate this $2.9 million structural deficit as soon as we can here. Net fund balance, again, $9.7 million after you back out the $7 million. That's about a 6 to 7% fund balance, which is not where we want to be. Now, we don't have to pay that down right away. We can wait longer, but it really would be in our best interest to get that paid down as soon as possible. And again, in our case, being out of formula is very beneficial, but the negative is if there is a recession or a slowdown economically, or if, Amazon moves out, or we have some of these other companies, then we get hit big. And since we're out of formula, we get that direct hit. So that's something that is a little bit out of our control that we have to be aware of and proactive of because we're out of formula. And it would take a huge increase, about 800, 900 students, for us to go back into formula, so that's very unlikely to happen anytime soon. And then, said 23-24 will be the last year that we'll have significant one-time grant dollars. And 24-25 we'll start to see the true financial picture with less ESSER money and the TAN being paid down. So that was all I had. If you have any questions at this point?
Trustees, good, Gross, Takeaway, good.
He answered mine doing
All
this
right.
that I had.
All right.
ESSER and other stuff. So, thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Pete. We're
Thank you.
good. All right. Moving down the agenda, operations, maintenance items. Dr. Leverett.
Thank you, Dr. Hannah. At this time, I will turn it over to Marvin Beasley, our Interim Director of Facilities, for a recommendation for Harrington Elementary Infrastructure Part 3 bid tab.
Good evening, everyone. The Harrington Elementary School Infrastructure Upgrades Part 3, background rationale, proposals were publicly requested for 24029 Harrington Elementary School Infrastructure Upgrades for rebid category, general trades on October 31st, 2024, and received on November 14, 2024. The bid proposals were read aloud at the Odell Nails Administration Building and reviewed jointly with Pontiac Schools, Saxe Construction, and Integrated Design Solutions. This bid category is described as follows in letter A below. The following is a summary of the recommended scope of work to be awarded for the Harrington Elementary infrastructure upgrades. The general trades bid category being recommended includes but is not limited to furnace and installation of all interior doors, hardware, interior architectural work, woodwork, cold form metal framing, countertops, toilet partitions, compartments, toilet accessories, stage curtains, visual display boards, fire protection specialties, wood floor rehabilitation, rough carpentry, and exterior insulation and finishing systems repairs. The following is a summary of recommended contracts to be awarded for Harrington Elementary infrastructure upgrades. It is the recommendation from the administration for the Pontiac Schools Board of Education approve 24029 Harrington Elementary School infrastructure upgrades, Part 3, to the outlined contract above, at the cost of $1,490,000. It is also recommended the Board of Education approve 20% contingency for unforeseen conditions in the amount of $298,000, a total award of $1,788,000. Any questions?
Thank you. Trustees?
No, I read it. It's neat. It's what we talked about.
Any additional questions or comment? All right, thank you. All right, moving on down, if I can get a motion for the approval.
So moved.
Support?
Thank you. It's been moved by Trustee Gross, supported by VP Bowman for the approval of Harrington Elementary School's infrastructure upgrades, Part 3. Any questions? Roll call.
President Hannah,
Yes.
Treasurer Terry,
Yes.
VP Bowman,
Yes.
I'm voting yes, and Trustee Gross.
Yes.
That passes 5-0.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Marv. All right, moving down, communications, petitions, and delegations. VP Bowman.
Alrighty. Your request to address the Pontiac Board of Education for 3 minutes is granted with your commitment that all comments will be delivered with courtesy and civility. Failure to do so will result in forfeiture of your allotted time. We have 2 speakers. We have LaBrea Robinson in regards to children with disabilities, education and learning curriculums. And then we have Lori Preston in regards to barriers, problems, and solutions in regards to vaping. So, LaBrea Robinson, you're more than welcome to take the podium.
Lori left. Lori left.
I am writing this letter to express my deep concerns regarding the emotional impact and distress that recent events have had on my family. I believe it's important for the Board of Education to understand the extent of distress this has caused and consider improvements to prevent similar situations in the future. On multiple occasions, my child was denied accommodations for her learning needs. She was repeatedly put in situations she felt isolated, frustrated, and overwhelmed. My daughter, a watch was took off her arm her deceased father gave to her that was very sentimental for her and calms her down. I was lied to about incidents my daughter has been in at the school. She was being picked on and she is on a spectrum. I told the principal of Harrington Elementary, I told her kindergarten teacher at Harrington Elementary, I told the social worker of the special ed department, I told special ed director at WHRC, special ed director at, I told the special education interim who is over the director of special education. I was threatened to get the police called on me because I asked someone at the front desk of the Board of Education office for a grievance and complaint form. The experience has left me and my child defeated, telling me more every day she misses her dad due to current events the school system took me through. She sees me cry every day, which is not healthy for her to see because she is on a spectrum, and that will not have a good impact on her as her parent. It has been incredibly painful to watch her suffer from the lack of support. I too have experienced emotional distress and helpless. I had to remove her from the school because I felt she wasn't safe at school. or I couldn't trust the school to keep her safe. I urge the Board of Education to review these policies around special education and ensure that staff members receive adequate training to support students with unique learning needs. I believe by improving these areas, the district can better serve its students and parent families from enduring similar distress in the future. Thank you for taking the time out to listen to my story.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson.
Lori Preston?
I think she left. Okay,
She left.
okay, all right. Okay, well, we'll move on down to board comments and announcements. We'll start over here to my left.
Thank you,
Mr.
Madam
Gross.
Chair. Good evening, everyone. Oh, that was dry. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I know it seemed long, but we're doing good on time. Before I go with my announcements, I want to, I was able to speak at the board governance to let people know I appreciate those who supported me during the time of the election. And I appreciate them for voting myself. And then too, Ms. Dooley is here tonight, who is also going to be sworn in January. Welcome aboard. Thank you. My classmate, we go back many moons. With my announcements, number one, I was a part of an award ceremony, Mr. Terry, back on Wednesday with the greatest fraternity there is, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Omicron Alpha Alpha, which this school district is a partner with. And I was presented on Wednesday night with the James Johnson Service Award for the work throughout the year of 24.
Nice.
So thank you. So I wanted to thank the brethren for that, and Brother John Williams is here, and he was one of the ones who supported me. Thank you, sir. And it means a lot and dedication to keep working and what we're doing here in this district and in this community. And I appreciate being a part of this. And with that, on Wednesday, November 20th, the brothers of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Omicron Alpha Alpha, will be at the high school, 6:00 p.m. We'll be passing out turkey dinners to the community. We do that every year, so I'll be over there with them on Wednesday night, eating and giving out turkey dinners.
All right.
And then on Sunday, November 24th, which I think Mr. Terry is going to talk about, the National Panhellenic Council will be at Newman AME, also giving out turkey meals Sunday, November 24th. And on November 23rd, this Saturday, come on out to Pontiac High School and witness the semi-pro team, the Pontiac Pharaohs. They return, and they're back early this year instead of starting in the winter and moving on to the spring. But they're starting now, and we have a couple of players from the city of Pontiac that will be playing with them. Again, this is a semi-pro team. Tickets are just $10, but Pontiac School District students get in free.
All right.
And board members, your name is on the entry list to come on down. And I am the official announcer for the Pontiac Pharaohs semi-pro basketball team.
All right, girl.
So when you hear your name called, that'll be me calling your name.
Okay.
But I got a problem. I just got a text message. Brother Williams, they want me to wear red on Saturday. We don't do red. Now I'm going to wear a deep purple that looks almost red. But that's Saturday, so just in fun. Come on out and see it. And listen, they're excellent games. We got concessions there. The game starts at 7 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And come on out. I want to make sure. I'm glad you asked that question. I forgot to put the time. 7 o'clock.
All right.
Yes. And Mr. Jackson sent me a text that gross 7 o'clock. So be there. It's fun time. You're going to enjoy it. Let's support them because, listen, we're doing big things in Pontiac. And to have a semi-pro team here, and then we're looking at getting the actual pros involved because we had a couple of young men who are in the NBA came over in the summer and did camps for us and won for free. And so this is a good thing. So let's support our semi-pro team here in Pontiac on Saturday. I'll see you all there. And again, thank you for those who supported me, and we'll be back here and continue to enjoy. I know we're limited on the amount of meetings the rest of this year, but I'm glad to be back here, to be a part of this special board. So thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's move on over to Secretary David Smith. Got anything?
Good evening, guys. This was a great meeting. I'm really glad we're getting into the vaping prevention and things of that nature, and also partnering with Oakland Parks. I think that'll be great for our kids. I won't have to drive so far out now. And I'm also glad that we're focusing on our children, curriculum and things like that, and also innovative ways to support our teachers and staff. Like, that's a must. That, you know, we talk about our children and how they're coming to us, some with emotional and behavior problems, but we don't realize that falls over into our teachers, and they're probably going home stressed and, you know, feeling, you know, alone, and that we're not supporting them. So I'm glad that we're doing things to be able to help each other, because it takes all of us to be able to do it. And I'm just trying to encourage our parents to also continue to help your students at home, because, I mean, the teachers do it in school, but we also need you guys to support them at home so that they're able to, you know, whatever they can't get completed at school, that they're able to get it done at home, and that they have that support to help them with their homework, so that they don't feel uncomfortable when they come to school the next day and their homework isn't completed. So it's going to take all of us to be able to do it, and our teachers can't do it alone. We need that support at home as well. And that's all I got to say for tonight. You guys have a great holiday. Be safe. Don't ask me to bake nothing, please. I am full of...
I'll call you tomorrow.
I am packed with cakes, pies, and shoot, I'm doing a couple whole meals for people. So I want you guys to enjoy yourself. Hopefully I'll be done in time to enjoy mine as well and relax during the holidays. So I hope you guys do too. Have a good night, everybody. Be safe.
Thank you. Treasurer Terry?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Just a few things. First off, want to say congratulations to the school district for another awesome report on the audit this year. So let's continue that work and be, I guess, good stewards of the funds that we do have. So let's continue to move forward with that. Interested in seeing how things go with the Oakland County Parks. So hopefully more details to come with that. It sounds like they're kind of eager to get started on that information. So I'll be interested to see where we go. I'm in support, but you know, it takes a board. So we'll see where things go from there. Also good information on the vaping. And then also good information on the internal teams and being able to, I guess, have those type of meetings and being able to open up and express yourself without, I guess, being chastised or punished or anything like that. So good looks on that. Hopefully that can continue as well. Outside of that, I believe that's pretty much it. Gross, congratulations on your winning.
Thank you, my brother.
You know, I understand, you know, you went down the wrong path and everything, but
I knew that was coming.
wish the best for you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
And last but not least, I want to wish everybody a wonderful, safe holiday. I believe this is our last meeting for this month, and then it's a short week next week as well. So everyone be safe out there. All the kids, enjoy your little break that you got off, and we'll see everybody in December. Thank you.
Thank you. VP Bowman.
Good evening. I'm going to start and say thank you to whoever gave us these awesome shirts.
A.D. Covington.
A.D. Covington, Athletics. I'm excited. Thank you. This is awesome. I love my Phoenix gear. Whenever any department orders anything, remember Bowman needs one. Order extra. This was a fantastic meeting. A lot of helpful information. Looking forward to the new year that's coming, or next month. I guess I'm moving a little fast. But congratulations to Miss Dooley sitting out there. And I think that's about it for me. Congratulations again, and yep, there we go. Good job.
Cool, thank you. Thank everybody for their patience, for being here tonight. Those of you that are watching, we really appreciate your attendance. We did have a really good meeting tonight, I feel. We covered a lot of information, and I'm really excited about the direction that we're going in as a district. I too wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Hope you enjoy your time off next week, and we look forward to resuming our meeting in December. December 2nd, I think, is our next meeting. So with that being said, I would like to move forward with a motion for adjournment, please.
So moved.
Support.
All right, it's been moved by VP Bowman, supported by Trustee Gross, to adjourn the meeting. Any questions? Roll call.
Trustee Terry.
Yes.
VP Bowman.
Yes.
I'm voting yes. Trustee Gross.
Yes.
And President Hannah.
Yes.
That passes 5-0.
All right, meeting adjourned at 8:05 PM. Thank you, everybody, and have a good night.